And so it all comes down to this. Lewis Hamilton, Fernando Alonso and Kimi Raikkonen. A season in one day. 3 men, 71 laps. A world championship for one of them at the end of it all. This is not just a supreme test of skill, it's a supreme test of nerve as well. This is the decisive moment. It is wide open. It's been such a great season. It is set up perfectly for the final Grand Prix of 2007. Go!
Oh, he's gone way too deep.
Oh no! Lewis Hamilton's in trouble! It's heartbreak for Hamilton. Kimi Raikkonen is world champion of 2007.
The dust has barely settled on the controversy and excitement of 2007. Now at Albert Park in Melbourne, the engines are about to fire up to launch the 2008 Formula One World Championship season. And qualifying for tomorrow's Australian Grand Prix, after all the mixed messages of winter testing, well, it's going to answer so many questions about what lies ahead. And Mark Blundell, the first qualifying session of any season is always a time of great excitement and great tension as well.
It is indeed, and I think we've watched winter testing, we've seen the lap times, now we come to the first race with all these new regulation changes. We're really going to see what people can do, and so far what we've seen is some unusual cars and drivers in some unusual positions on the circuit.
Kimi Raikkonen and Ferrari, after taking the World Championship last season, will be full of confidence. How strong a favourite would you make Kimi for this season?
He's a strong favourite to win this title again. He's so relaxed, he's so confident. He's got the monkey off his shoulder now. He definitely knows that he can do it because it's on his CV, world champion. Massa also is looking very mature. He's come along with a marriage now in the winter, so he's got his lovely wife there, and he's feeling a little bit more confident in getting the job done. Alonso in the Renault. Hamilton, of course, we want to see him do it again and try and have another run at the World Championship.
Well, surely it all can't be quite as close as it was last season when Kimi Raikkonen absolutely stole that World Championship title from Lewis Hamilton and from Fernando Alonso by a single point in that extraordinary climax to the season in Brazil. And now coming into this season, we've got technical changes as well. The drivers have lost their electronic aids, they've lost their traction control, their engine braking. How is the spectacle going to change?
Well, I think it's going to be good for all of us watching, because I think there's going to be several drivers, especially some of the new guys, they're going to get caught out. They're going to get caught out with not having that electronic enhancement, almost like a protection for them. Even if they get stuck into the throttle a little bit too heavy, they would have got the overload of the engine, just cutting the power down to the rear wheels. Now that won't happen. And also, as they go in during the race, if they're a bit too aggressive during those early laps and wear out the rear tyres get worn out, then it's going to catch them out further on. Excitement for us and a lot more excitement in the cockpit.
Well, it's a long season to try to work it all out because it's an 18-race calendar, an 18-race schedule that lies ahead of us this season. Well, of course, the new venues of Valencia for the Grand Prix of Europe at the end of August, and also Singapore for Formula One's first ever night race. And for Lewis Hamilton, after that amazing rookie season, it's another further chance to prove his talent a year on from his Formula One debut here in Melbourne.
I think just going there, obviously in the second year, you got the experience, you know what the track's like, you know what the start's going to be like. It's probably be a bit more relaxed, and I've been to Australia before, and the aim's to do it better than last time. But you know, I'm really looking forward to it. I think I've been looking forward to it since the last Grand Prix. So.
You couldn't do it much better than last time, but how do you feel that you've changed as a person and a competitor as a result of all that experience of last year?
I think I've just grown as a person, as an adult, just grown into a much bigger person, much stronger mentally and physically, and confidence-wise, and my knowledge about the car, about the team, my relationship with the team. And I think, you know, last year just everything was, I was juggling like a million balls and they were all being thrown at me, and I was trying to catch them all, and I think I did an okay job. But I mean, this year I know what to expect, so I'll hire some help.
The build-up to this season, of course, we all know that the team was under particular scrutiny from the FIA. What sort of effect did that have round here, and did it hamper the start to the season at all, do you think?
I don't think it's hampered the start to the season. I think, yeah, it was an emotional roller coaster for everyone, and if anything, it made the whole team more determined to get on and do a better job and to beat everyone out there. And for me, the way I've been brought up is to do the talking on the track, and I think the team were very much into that as well. So we just tried to knuckle down, and I think going into this year, you know, the car's even more reliable already. We've covered way too many miles already, but it's all going very, very well. And I just hope that, you know, we go into the season with the same sort of mentality as we did last year. And hopefully it'll be, you know, I know it was good for the fans to watch. You know, it was exciting to watch Formula 1 because there was so much politics and commotion going on. But hopefully this year's a lot smoother year, and but still fun.
New teammate in Heikki Kovalainen. What's the verdict early on?
Heikki, he's a cool guy. I get on really well with him. We've had, I've known him for a few years, and obviously while he's in GP2 and some Formula 3 and karting, and he's just easy. He's so laid back, and he's very, very humble, very, very easy to get on, very, very energetic and enthusiastic. It's all good. Hopefully it continues.
So how's it going to work out? Kimi, obviously, and Ferrari have a great deal of momentum after the manner in which they finished the season.
Yeah, absolutely. In which I think we have, you know, I think sure Ferrari are at the moment still our main competitors, and we've just got to focus on what we're doing and just make sure we do the better job. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a good. If it does feel like it's going to be a big battle again with them, but I think there's a couple of other teams. I think Renault are really, you know, stepping up to the game, and also BMW look like they're chasing us down. So it's going to be an interesting season, and I like the fact that there's other teams up there racing with us, just not McLaren and Ferrari. I think it'll be good to see a couple of other teams winning this year, but I hope we get most of them.
And now, Mark, after all the traumas of the Spygate case last year, the recovery process for McLaren starts here in Melbourne. And how significant is it, after all the rumours surrounding the future of Ron Dennis, that he's here and he's going to be on the pit wall for this Australian Grand Prix?
You know, I think that's what it has been, Steve, all along. It's been rumour, and a lot of people have been saying that Ron Dennis won't be arriving for the first race. He's not going to be connected with McLaren. He's made a statement. He said he's definitely here. He's a team principal. Yes, Martin Whitmarsh has been taking a bigger role, and I think Ron has been stepping back and looking at the overall group, because McLaren is a big group of companies, not just a racing team. But he's here, and I think he'll be looking for a great result this weekend. And
everyone assumed that it would have a destabilising effect, at the very least, on the team this season. That didn't seem to be the case yesterday in practice.
You know, everybody's suitably impressed. I think almost a little bit shocked, because they felt that there'd been so much going on with McLaren, whether it be, you know, the Spygate affair, whether there's trauma for Ron Dennis on a personal level. They've all come back, everyone in this team, and come back fighting. And Lewis Hamilton has definitely proved that. We've seen him so strong out in the car, and the performance is there. It's going to be a battle with Ferrari.
And of course, Lewis's new partnership with his teammate Heikki Kovalainen is just the right kind of chemistry for this McLaren team. Let's take you through the driver lineups for what we must consider to be the top 5 teams coming into this Australian Grand Prix.
Reigning drivers and constructors champions, Ferrari start the season as favourites. Kimi Raikkonen and Felipe Massa form the unchanged driver lineup, and in terms of race wins, theirs is the most successful pairing on the grid.
For sure, we try to start a bit stronger than last year and try to finish it in a similar way.
I want to win, and I'm going to do everything to fight for the championship.
McLaren will be looking to put a tumultuous 2007 season firmly behind them and keep their battles on track. The MP423 has looked both fast and reliable so far, and Lewis Hamilton's definitely up for the fight.
Coming to the first race and going on from it, I know what to do to improve, and I guess that's the aim. I want to be world champion this year, more than ever.
Inside the garage, the atmosphere promises to be much more harmonious this year, with new signing Heikki Kovalainen slipping easily into the second seat.
It's been a good winter. You know, we've been working hard, we've been improving our car and package. I'm getting to know the team all the time more and more, and I couldn't be happier at the moment, to be honest. But let's see. Hopefully it's the same feeling after we start races as well.
Taking second place in the pit lane is BMW Sauber, who retain German Nick Heidfeld and Poland's Robert Kubica. Their target for 2008 is to win a race.
Well, like always, push as hard as possible and score as many points as possible.
Fernando Alonso is back in the bosom of the team where he built his reputation. And although Renault's R28 needs to find a bit more pace before it can put him amongst the front runners, Fernando's up for it.
it's a new challenge because you need to work faster and better than the others in a very short period of time, which is the World Championship months, in 7 months. So, I'm really looking forward to this challenge, and I believe in our guys, and I believe in myself as well. So, full confidence.
Alonso's up against another quick rookie this year. Nelson Piquet Jr., son of the 3-time world champion, makes his F1 debut with Renault, but doesn't anticipate any problems with his illustrious teammate.
In testing, everything is different, I mean, we're never doing the same things, and it's difficult to work together because drivers are doing different programs the whole day. I think now we're going to be able to work a bit better together and really see how we get in together. But I don't see a problem with that.
Williams field 2 more sons of ex-F1 drivers in Nico Rosberg and Kazuki Nakajima. The Toyota-powered Williams has looked good in winter testing, but exactly how quick is it?
Massively quick. No, I'm just joking.
We can't say we are ahead of the other guys, so I think we just need to wait and see.
Well, Williams, of course, an interesting story to follow, as are Renault, who've been rejoined by Fernando Alonso, the big driver move of the winter. And what's it like, Pat, having him back?
Well, it's excellent. We were all very sorry when he left to go to McLaren, but we understood it, so there was never any hard feelings. But it's great having him back, that commitment and knowing that whatever you do, it's going to be used to its absolute maximum. So great to have him back. But he's still being a bit naughty, isn't he, saying that you haven't got a chance to challenge for the championship. Do you feel like just giving him a slap now and again? There's a little bit of gamesmanship. Let's see. Let's get a few races under our belt.
So you think maybe a race win isn't out of the question this year?
Well, I guess everyone said it. It's very, very close this year, and it's still extremely hard to call. But, that's what we're here for. We're here to win, so that's what we're going for.
OK, good luck in qualifying, Pat. Thanks very much.
Thanks.
What are your feelings, Mark, about what we might see from Fernando Alonso on his return to Renault this season?
I think you see a very relaxed and comfortable Fernando Alonso in a team that he knows very well, and I think you're going to see progress there very quickly. A lot of clever people at Renault. Pat Simmons, a clever guy, very practical. Alonso, great contributor to the programme. You saw that here in McLaren, and it kind of got overlooked with everything what went on outside of that. But there is a car there which is capable of getting a good result, but I'm not quite sure it's capable of winning the Grand Prix yet.
And for Lewis Hamilton, after his clash of personalities with Alonso last season, how important is this partnership he looks set to form with Kovalainen?
It's an important partnership because they need to work together. They've only got 1 season of Grand Prix experience each. And that's not a lot when things go wrong here. And if they do go wrong, they've got to dig deep and try and get themselves out. That's where a person like Alonso had so much experience and could make sure that this went forward. I think at the moment they're lucky. The car looks good.
Well, there are some unchanged combinations and also some more new faces as we take you through the rest of the driver lineups.
The RB4 looks like it could be the car that starts to move Red Bull forward. David Coulthard and Mark Webber have produced some promising lap times in winter testing.
Done 10,000 in testing, cars in the garage ready to go, which this time last year they were still shipping bits out, and as you know we had terrible reliability and a lot of problems. So we feel good going into this year, and I think that we're more competitive as well.
Seemingly stuck in F1's midfield, can Toyota make serious progress in this, their 6th year in the top flight? Timo Glock replaces Ralf Schumacher, while Jarno Trulli is aiming high.
I am pretty confident that we're gonna be there and on top. Obviously, forget McLaren and Ferrari, which are at the moment very strong, I believe, stronger than anyone else. But the rest of the group, like BMW, Renault, Williams, and Toyota, Red Bull, we all close each other, and I believe there is a very nice fight for all season.
There's no new car yet at Toro Rosso. The team will use a modified version of its 2007 Challenger with the definitive 2008 chassis set to appear at the Turkish Grand Prix. So same car, but there's a different driver alongside Sebastian Vettel in the 2nd seat this season. Frenchman Sebastian Bourdais has turned his back on a hugely successful career in the US, which saw him take 4 consecutive Champ Car titles to follow his heart into Formula One.
I've been waiting for that moment for many, many years now, so it's good to be finally getting to that first Grand Prix. We'll see if the preparation was good. but I feel like we've done quite a good job, and hopefully it transforms for that first Grand Prix.
The old Jordan team are now on their 4th set of owners in 4 years. Force India is the name, while Adrian Sutil is joined by Renault refugee Giancarlo Fisichella.
This is our main target, to score some points somewhere, because points for us is like to win a race, so we are really focused on that. We are working really hard.
Super Aguri almost didn't make it to Melbourne, but a last-minute deal with the Magma Group rescued the team from collapse and took the weight off Anthony Davidson's shoulders.
It's been a long winter of worry, and really, it was a big stress to go through that winter. It seemed like a really long time, and now we're finally here. It's all good, and people can finally start relaxing.
That winter of uncertainty will undoubtedly have compromised the team's performance, though.
All the test has been cancelled, and we did go to Spain, had a 1 test, 3 days test, but that was all. All the winter preparation wasn't perfectly go smoothly, but at least we're here, and which is a very pleasing moment.
And with 390 races between them, Jenson Button and Rubens Barrichello are the most experienced driver lineup on the grid, and both stay on for 1 more season with Honda Racing. The car was slow in early testing, but with Ross Brawn at the helm, brighter prospects lie ahead. They'll be lucky to score points here in Melbourne and can only dream of a win. But Jenson Button was in relaxed mood when he spoke to Louise earlier in the weekend.
Jenson, Melbourne in March can only mean one thing, and that's the start of another season. How much have you been looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, a little bit apprehensive, really. The winter's been interesting. I feel that we've moved forward as a team, but with the car we're still not as quick as we'd like to be. But the main thing is that we can build on this car, and it's going to become a lot better. We've got a very good team of people back at base, and it will improve throughout the season. It won't be as quick as Ferrari and McLaren for sure, but we'll get closer.
Ross Brawn's been with the team for a couple of months now. How much have you seen him bring to Honda?
A lot. Everyone within the team respects him, and we all know what he's achieved in the past. He's also a very calming influence in the team, and he's doing a great job. And I think that it's something that we were missing. We didn't have any sort of technical direction beforehand. And we have it now, and that's very important in a team.
And what difference has it made to you personally having him there?
It's made a big difference. Mid-season last year or at the start of the season, it was very tough mentally because things weren't going well, and I couldn't really see light at the end of the tunnel. But after the talks that I had with the team, and when Ross came on board, I was a lot happier, and I'm very happy to be with Honda, not just this year, but in the future.
I have a memory of last year, Melbourne, you getting a snog from Danny and Kylie Minogue on the grid. So far, the only positions I've seen here this weekend are kiss. So how do you rate your chances?
Well, I didn't actually get a snog. I got a kiss on the cheek, which is quite nice. I did have to take my platform shoes off, though, to get down to their height. But no, it's great. It was great having them both on the grid. And Danny's here this year as well, but Kylie's sadly not. She'll be missed. You're
not going to be kissing Gene Simmons on the grid instead?
I don't think so. I'll be running down the grid if he comes anywhere near me. Yeah.
And Jenson Button will kiss Ross Brawn on the cheek if he can bring any kind of success back to this Honda team. But I suppose the message for Jenson is that he's got to remain patient.
He has got to remain patient. There's a lot to be done here at Honda. We've seen some rebuilding already. Ross Brawn, I think, has come in and made an assessment of what he's got to work with Honda, and I think bit by bit he will make other changes, and you'll see a lot stronger package of people and on the car as well coming forward as we go through the season. But there's no doubt in Ross Brawn's credentials. We know what he's done. He was a fundamental part of Ferrari. If he can put that in place at Honda, we'll see a strong team by the end of this season.
Are there any areas in which he can make an immediate impact? I mean, certainly organisation, maybe tactics as well?
Yeah, definitely, Steve. He can come in, he can actually reconstruct the way the organisation works and maybe prioritise some different compartments and departments to make sure that their output is maximised. And I think that's the kind of thing you'll see in the early days. We won't see it here in the pit lane, but back at base, back at Brackley, there's a lot more going on.
But Jenson certainly seems in a more optimistic mood for this season. Two other British drivers on the grid, of course. Anthony Davidson, after those last-minute finances, arrived at Super Aguri. And David Coulthard, who's feeling pretty good about things at Red Bull.
We feel good going into this year. I think that we're more competitive as well. Unfortunately, we're right in that middle mix where if we presume McLaren, Ferrari and BMW still take the top 6 places, then of course we're fighting over 7th and 8th with Renault, Williams, Toyota, maybe Toro Rosso, you know, Honda if they get it together. So it's going to be very competitive, tough, and of course our goal is to try and make sure that we can get out of that middle pack and move forward.
You can't just rock up to a Formula 1 paddock and expect to, you know, rock the world with one day's testing, but it's much too competitive for that, this game. But that's why we've just got to get through this weekend. We know what we've got to do. We're limited on parts, we're limited on laps, therefore. So, you know, we know we're not going to really create any magic this race, but hopefully in the future we will.
Now, as we said at the start of the programme, it's a season of technical changes, especially affecting the demands on the drivers. Let's take you through those changes in some detail.
As far as the changes to the technical regulations concerned, this is what's causing all the fuss. It's the electronic control unit, or ECU, and it really is the car's brain. Anything active on the car, anything that makes the car go, goes through here, and it's got plenty of FIA seals on it so that they'll know if any of the teams are trying to tamper with it. Now, it's made by a McLaren Group company, and all the other teams are a bit annoyed about that because it means that they've had to change all their software and McLaren haven't, which might have given McLaren a bit of an advantage. But it's already had a big effect on the running here at Melbourne. With its characteristic dusty track and slow-speed corners, Albert Park has perfectly demonstrated how pampered F1 drivers had become with traction control. Now, if you're too heavy on the throttle on the exit from second gear corners, there's nothing to save you.
Putting 700 and whatever brake horsepower down into those tyres, it's not easy. When we had traction control, it was quite easy, you know, because it took care of it. You know, it might have been 50 metres, might have been 100 metres in some places. As where now our foot's the traction control.
Engine braking systems used to prevent the rear wheels locking under heavy braking, giving the car better stability. But now it's gone. If you're not gentle on the brakes, the car will just swap ends. Another new rule that has the prospect of being a complete nightmare for the teams is that gearboxes have to last 4 races. So if your car catches fire in practice but you can't prove damage to the gearbox, you'll be forced to change it and take the ensuing 5-place grid penalty.
Teams can no longer have a complete spare car ready to go sitting in the garage. They can still carry an extra tub, but will have to build it up if it's needed. So the days of running back to the garage after a first corner pile-up are over. This will reduce the number of mechanics travelling to the races, and there'll be further cost savings because the teams won't need so much pit equipment. There'll be a bit more space in the garage for the remaining guys too. Each driver is now allowed to make his first engine change of the season without incurring a penalty. Teams don't have to show that there's a problem with the existing unit either, so in theory they could make a strategic change for back-to-back races at tracks that place heavy demands on the engine. The qualifying schedule's been changed to get rid of the rather pointless fuel burn phase in Q3, and the gas in this tank must now be 5.75% biofuel. There'll be no refuelling after the final shootout anymore either, so the guys who qualify in the top 10 are likely to run shorter stints at the start of the race. Also new for 2008, if a car stops out on track and the marshals need to use mechanical assistance to move it, then the stewards can now drop the driver down the grid or even exclude him from the race. This will discourage drivers from staying put in stranded cars. Finally, there's another safety measure. The drivers must now maintain a steady pace behind the safety car when the lights are turned out to indicate that it's coming in. So heavy braking and erratic acceleration are now a big no-no.
Are there some drivers out there, Mark, maybe drivers of a more natural instinctive ability who will enjoy the loss of traction control more than others?
I think there's a lot of guys out there who enjoy having no traction control, definitely. But for me, it's a skill set. It's something like watching a Beckham on a free kick, puts it in the back of the net and he bends it in nicely. No different to a Grand Prix driver. He has to apply the throttle in a certain way. And while he's doing it, he's sensing how much grip he's got in the car, how much he can really get stuck into that right throttle pedal there and make the most of it. And it's all about the skills of a driver. And I think you're going to see more and more people getting it right. right and some people getting it wrong, especially when we get to the wet conditions.
Yeah, no rain forecast, fortunately, for this coming weekend, but you would think it might suit Lewis and certainly the likes of Jenson Button.
Jenson Button, because he's such a smooth driver, anyway, what happens if he had electronic or no electronic, he very rarely got stuck into the traction control because he modulates his throttle so well. Some of the other guys who are more aggressive, even something like Rubens, Jenson's teammate, he's a little bit more aggressive on the pedal, gets stuck in hard, could cause him further problems.
OK, the first qualifying session of this new season gets closer. We're in Melbourne. We're in the southern tip of Australia, the state of Victoria. Temperatures in the low 30s today, but they're set to soar into the 40s tomorrow to maybe produce one of the hottest Australian Grand Prix on record. Well, in the light of all the new rule changes, here's Martin Brundle on the challenges of Albert Park.
One of the key regulation changes for 2008 is the loss of traction control. And on the start line, it will have a significant effect. Now the drivers must control and modulate the wheel spin. The difference between an ordinary start and a great start could be as much as 50 metres this year. And we're going to see a lot more movement on the grid and down to the first corner. Last year, when we saw Lewis Hamilton excelling into the first corner of his first Grand Prix, it was then a bit of a software engineer's race down to that first corner and braking point. But there's still a great opportunity to make up places, if you're brave, that is. Your front tyres are cold, your brakes are not up to full operating temperature. It's hero and zero stuff. Get it right, you look fantastic. Get it wrong, lose a wheel, lose the front wing, or cause the race to be stopped. This year, no rushing back for a spare car. They're not available anymore. Lewis Hamilton is in superb form. Let's take a lap of this Albert Park track with him. Exiting turn 2, heading to 180 miles an hour, and the braking point for 3, down to just 70 for the very tight right-hander. He connected with that nicely. Now the left-hander of turn 4, 90 miles an hour, running very wide indeed. Turn 5 is absolutely full throttle, 130 miles an hour. Underneath the trees, the blind braking zone for 6, followed immediately by 7. Again, the nose of that McLaren going into the curve perfectly. Sweeping around the wall for turn 8. Keep it on the left-hand side, the very bumpy braking zone of 9, 170, down to just 75 miles an hour. The corner opens up easily through the exit. Lewis always running so close to the wall as he heads to the far chicane of turns 11 and 12. 170 miles an hour through the first part, 140 through the second, and eagerly on the throttle pedal. Turns 15 and 16 will really sort the men from the boys without traction control. 15's a left-hand hairpin, about 70 miles an hour, building up to 100 on the way into 16 there, 130 through the exit. Listen to Kubica last year, leaning heavily on the traction control. This year, he'll have to modulate the throttle himself, as will all of the other drivers, of course. And it's here that they'll be most challenged, in an acceleration zone or a corner that's not quite flat out, where the driver really can make the difference. We've even seen the world's best crashing here with the help of traction control. So these kind of areas are where we're going to see them making their mistakes, when the tyres are worn later in the race, or of course if there's any rain.
But rest assured, it's just about ideal conditions for qualifying today as the Australian Air Force display jets thunder over the paddock here at Melbourne Park. First Grand Prix weekend of the season, and that also means the season's first ITV F1 competition. Here are the details.
To kick off the season, we're giving you the chance to win the ultimate VIP Formula One experience at this year's British Grand Prix, taking place at Silverstone from the 4th to the 6th of July. You and a friend will get grandstand tickets for all 3 days of the 2008 Formula One Santander British Grand Prix. You'll also get VIP hospitality for the big race on Sunday and get to rub shoulders with some of the biggest names in motorsport in Silverstone's Drivers' Lounge at Cops. You'll also have 2 nights in a hotel near the circuit and a helicopter flight around Silverstone, offering the ultimate bird's-eye view of the world's famous Grand Prix circuit. To be in with a chance of winning, you must answer this question correctly. Which of these is a corner at Silverstone? Is it A, Eau Rouge, B, Stowe, or C, Ferradura? To enter, call 0901 293 2020. Calls cost £1 from BT landlines. Calls from mobiles and other networks may be higher. Or you can text the word F1 and your answer, A, B or C, to 63337. Text costs £1 plus one standard network rate reply message. Digital satellite and cable viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can also enter for free at itv.com. Entrants must be 18 or over and lines close at 5 p.m. this coming Tuesday. So best of luck. Entries made after the closing time won't be counted but may still be charged.
Early thoughts of Silverstone then, but it's Melbourne that starts the season off, and we'll have the final countdown as we continue to battle these jets. The final countdown to the first qualifying session of 2008, when you rejoin us here at Albert Park. And here at Albert Park in Melbourne, they're continuing to enjoy the activities in the skies before concentrating on the activities in the track. In the next few minutes, it's qualifying for the Australian Grand Prix in warm sunshine here in Melbourne. All those chilly days of winter testing seem a long way off, and the next couple of hours will prove who really is the strongest for this 2008 season. Well, Ferrari, with their new world champion Kimi Raikkonen, they celebrated their world championship achievements of last season in what has become traditional style for the team, out on the ski slopes, where they were joined by Tamara Eccleston.
The winter break saw world champions Ferrari head to an Italian ski resort to celebrate their success. The week-long party consists of snowboarding, skiing, and even some ice racing. With such a tough assignment, there could only be one woman for the job. Sun, skis and me, Tamara Ecclestone.
Although this is a working week for riders, drivers and journalists, it's really not a bad place to work. Just behind me, the Dolomite, the weather's clearing up and the snow is perfect, so it's time for the riders to hit the slopes and have some fun.
It also gave me the ideal chance to catch up with Kimi and Felipe.
Do you ski just here once a year, or do you ski during the year also?
I ski just once a year. To be honest, this is the third time I ski in my life.
That's incredible, amazing.
I was here in 2006 was the first time.
Yeah.
2007 and it's
now
third time once a year, so it's not.
That's amazing. That's really cool. I know in a car, of course, you're not nervous, but is it a little bit different on skis? Or
Yeah, you need to pay more attention in what you're doing because you're not very natural, you know.
Yeah, of course.
In the car, you know what you're doing. You know, everything is coming like.
Yeah, it's like second nature. Yeah, yes.
With Kimi, it was proving more difficult. He's a regular snowboarder, and I found it almost impossible to keep up.
I made it. You are so too quick for me. I'm frozen, I've got frostbite, and I've just realised that I'm not a great skier. Thanks for that.
No, you're a good skier. We are just faster.
Yeah, much faster. Yeah. You make a habit of it.
One man late to arrive was Michael Schumacher, who turned up just in time for the ice racing, and it wasn't long before the 7-time world champion showed he hadn't lost any of his skills. There were some exchanges of paintwork, but Michael took the win, leaving Kimi and Felipe to examine the damage. After the race, I managed to catch up with Michael and ask him about the new 2008 car.
Well, it's always the same story. You have a car that is very promising. You obviously don't have all the final bits on the car. Mainly, you put out the car out of the garage to run it, to make sure all the systems are functioning. You don't have any stupid errors, and anyway, you have a quick look whether things are going well. And what I have seen and what we have felt looks very promising, as you would expect, because we have worked very hard to have a promising car. Now it's up to what have done the competitors on the other end, and then we will see if it's a good one or not.
It turns out that I lost Michael on several occasions. His slipstream was really too hard to follow, but I tried.
Well, a couple of years ago, Ross Brawn would have been part of that Ferrari ski party, but now swapping the red of Ferrari for the very striking green of Honda. You're carrying it off pretty well.
Well, I gather it looks very good on television. So.
It's unmissable on television. But welcome back to the paddock after your sabbatical of last year. What does it mean to be involved again at the start of a season like this?
Well, I'm still a little bit getting up to speed. Surprising after a year, there's a few things you forget, and obviously the team functions a little bit differently to Ferrari. So this weekend's a lot of observation for me. Watch how things are done. I don't want to get too heavily involved because I want the team to function. And then when we get back to the office, talk about how things went and see how we can improve things.
But we've been hearing from Jensen earlier in the programme. There is this new mood of optimism around the team, and Jensen in particular seems to be encouraged by this.
Well, it's a great team. I mean, it really is a nice team, good group of people. And I think if they can gain the confidence that we can go forward and we can start to achieve results, try and win races, then that'll make an enormous difference. A lot of it is confidence.
I'm sure you will join the battle for the title in seasons to come, but what's your gut feeling about what's going to happen this season?
For us, I think midfield running will be pretty respectable. Obviously, the car was pretty well designed when I arrived. I've got some ideas that I'd like to try and incorporate this year, some developments we want to do. But the main target is to make a big step for 2009 in terms of our competitiveness.
We wish you the best in that respect. Ross Brawn, welcome back. Enjoy the season. Okay, we can go to Louise.
Down in the paddock with Jackie Stewart. And Jackie, we're just moments away from the first qualifying session of 2008. How do you see things panning out? Are you expecting any surprises?
I don't think so, unfortunately. I think we're going to see both McLaren and Ferrari being the top dogs. And then I think the big challenge, and it's closer this season than I've ever seen it before, for the others. And I think who's going to be in the third row and the fourth row is going to be the big tassel. Qualifying's changing a little bit because they're not allowed to burn fuel off afterwards. So what you start with is going to be quite competitive, and there's maybe more strategy going to be to get those early positions on the grid than there has been in previous years. But I expect McLaren, and Lewis Hamilton's done a particularly good job, made fewer errors than the Ferrari drivers. Everybody's been off the road quite a lot this weekend, partially due to the traction control being removed, because it affects retardation as well as it affects acceleration.
Who are you tipping for pole?
Lewis Hamilton.
Why Lewis? Do you think it's going to be a strategic decision, or do you think the car just has the speed?
I think he's more level-headed. I think both Massa and Kimi Raikkonen are just slightly peak and valley. They can both do it, but there seems to be the occasion where they go into a valley and they're making a few more mistakes. I think Lewis has got better mind management, I think.
Thanks, Jackie.
Pleasure.
Jensen Button there getting ready for what lies ahead. Mark, what about Jackie Stewart's thoughts that it's going to be Lewis on pole?
Yeah, I think he's got a good possibility. I think Kimi Raikkonen, for me, will be the guy who's going to sit in pole position. I'm not quite so sure about mind management. I think Kimi Raikkonen has got a strong mental ability as much as anybody else in the grid. But yeah, interesting to see Jackie's thoughts. A lot of guys have been off the road, and a lot of that is down to traction control. And what he says is a lack of engine braking, and that's what's catching the guys out.
Yeah, Lewis was off the road this morning, so too was Kimi. But this is just sort of exploring the limits, isn't it?
Definitely so, and they're going to explore the limits because this is the time to do it. And if you do have a couple of offs, just watch going in here, turn one, just not quite getting the apex. And again, what that's caused by, Steve, is as they de-accelerate, they don't have the engine braking to take some of that speed down while it's riding in the gear. And that actually helped them enormously when they had that in position with the traction control. Now they've got to do the brakes.
About the tactics that lie ahead for the qualifying session, the format of which has changed, and it puts a whole new emphasis on judging the fuel just right.
It does indeed, because the guys now have got to just decide whether they want to put fuel in and burn it away in the first part of the race now. But of course, if they put too much in while they're qualifying, it's going to be a heavy car, they're going to be slow. You're going to see some guys go low on fuel level and they get ultra performance, and maybe put them in a grid position that we wouldn't have seen last season.
But that final qualifying session, it's like going to be a sort of good old-fashioned last 10 minutes that we used to enjoy a few years ago.
Yeah, definitely. You're going to go out the pit lane on with a set of tyres and push a lap out, and you've got one more chance. Some guys are going to make mistakes, some are going to catch traffic. A lot of pressure on them for 10 minutes of running, but great for us.
Haven't really mentioned BMW and the possibility of them really trying to close this gap to McLaren and Ferrari. They look poised to have done that through the last couple of seasons. Kubica went well this morning.
He did indeed. Both BMWs are very fast. Kubica ended up the fastest man down on the racetrack. Whether he's going to carry that into final qualifying, we have to wait and see. But I think, you know, they may have gone off in a direction which is a little bit more radical than what we've seen the last couple of seasons, but they've done that for one thing only, and that's to try and win Grand Prix. And this year is definitely a big year for BMW.
OK, if it's not BMW, who else is going to surprise us this season?
I think Renault's going to surprise us, and I think Red Bull will surprise us. The first time we've truly seen an Adrian Newey designed car, and already you've seen them do some quick lap times.
OK, Mark, thanks very much indeed. It's almost upon us, the first qualifying session of the new season. The most important qualifying session of any season is the first, and it'll be getting underway right after the break.